France, Noel, Ireland's fourth most important market after Britain, the USA and Germany. Fifth largest source market in the world, making over 40 million visits abroad annually and spending over $40 billion. How's Ireland doing?
We're doing reasonably well actually in the French market. If you take the French market, about 20 million holidays overseas, but 11 million of those are by air. Britain gets about 3.6 million visits, about half of those are holidays. We get about 400 visits and about half of those, about 200,000 are holidays. We've got about 1% share of the overseas holiday market. If you look at the, the growth over the past 10 years, the non-holiday segment from France has been growing faster than the holiday segment, which is a bit of a worry. So it means VFR and business has been increasing faster than we've been growing from the holiday segment. But overall, yeah, good progress. Okay, but the share getting up a bit more.
Sure. They get a lot of holidays in France, minimum 25 days and in some cases up to 40 days. Now, that should be good for holidays, but it can't be doing a whole lot for their economy.
Well, you should probably remember in 2008, they had some labour reforms, trying to push up the retirement age and trying to push out the number of hours worked. Yeah, the 35-hour week means that now entitles people to overtime or time off in lieu. So some people have largely between 30 and 40 days holidays a year. And they have the highest number of, I think, bank holidays or public holidays in Europe. They have 11 each year.
Wow.
In terms of the economy, 2 or 3 of the last 4 quarters, and not consecutively, have been down. And we're looking probably at about 1% growth GDP this year at best. Austerity, as you know, the new president was elected on an anti-austerity measure, but thanks to pressure from the Germans, he's pushing up taxes. Productivity, industrial output has decreased. Exports are up, which is worrying. So their trade deficit has disimproved in recent times. But they're expecting that now to turn as people are tighter, won't be buying imports and so forth.
So like ourselves, they have a little ways to go on the economic recovery front.
Yeah, the economists said it was an anemic kind of economic condition, and they expect to turn around in 14 or 15.
French demographics ought to be good from our perspective. An ageing population, time on their hands to travel. Tell us a little bit about the typical French visitor, if there is such a thing, that comes to Ireland.
I know there's a typical French visitor. You can use statistics or whatever. I would say, just looking at the data, we're slightly skewed towards the younger age profile. We seem to penetrate the younger, and we were saying the same about Germany, whereas the population is aging. Dublin, the west and the southwest are where they go, basically. Dublin share has been increasing, driven in part by access, but also by short breaks and city tourism and so forth. French market is very important to the B&B sector. They have the largest share of bed nights from the French market. Hotel share has been increasing, obviously, with the better value and so forth, and hostels are also well positioned in that market. In terms of where they come from, the Paris region, or the greater Paris region, is frightfully important. It's about half the total market. Slight concentration on the peak, about 2/3 come between May and August. And we, for some strange reason, we seem to do better in the early months of the year than we do in the latter months of the year.
Maybe it's all those public holidays.
Maybe it is.
Earlier.
About less than 20% are now packaged. And about 1/3 of them are repeat visitors. I think interesting looking at the kind of the post-visit survey, the attitude survey. Overall, I have to say there's high satisfaction, as with other nationalities. But I think when you drill down a little bit, there seems to be a reaction from the French that the expectation matched more than it exceeded their expectation. Slightly, they're not as gushing in terms of uniqueness of the Irish experience as some other nationalities. And they're also not as convinced that we give a very good quality of food offering.
Which I suppose in some ways you might expect from a country with such a reputation itself for food.
Gastronomy is one of the main motivations for travel, and one of the main influencing on choice of destination.
So maybe there's something to be looked at there. And connectivity, Ireland seems to do fairly well here, both with surface and air connections, but mostly connecting with our east coast.
Yeah, I have 149 flights this summer per each week from 16 airports in France, giving us about 23,000 seats per week. The bulk of those, 85% of those, are into Dublin.
Wow.
If you take, we've 149 flights. I think there are only 19 into Cork and 2 into Shannon per week.
And none into Knock?
Nothing into Knock, nothing into Kerry. So very big concentration into Dublin.
Sure. And as we mentioned earlier, we get about 400,000 French visitors a year. What are the opportunities, do you think, to grow this, and what do you see as the barriers?
I think the opportunities, I mean, say they're very big. You know, if you look at the research, what influenced their choice of destination, cultural heritage is very big there, entertainment, gastronomy, festivals and events. So I think we probably need to ratchet up maybe the food aspect and certainly the events aspect. Shorter trips, I mean, say if you look at what the French are doing, they're taking more shorter trips. Themed travel is very big with them. And if you read you know, what people say, the experience is more important than the seeing. So anything that can deliver that. And the other trend that's very marked in the market is late booking. The booking is getting closer to the time of travel. And
finally, the travel trade are still very important in the French market, although it's a bit complex and fragmented. But is there a discernible shift to direct bookings?
Oh yes, very much so. I think all the research is showing that, you know, e-commerce is increasing in France, m-commerce is growing, and travel or tourism is a very important segment of that whole overall market. It's interesting that Expedia in France have recently decided to drop carrying wholesaler programs or wholesaler packages on their site. It's all going to dynamic packaging. It's the hotel, it's the car rental, it's whatever, putting it together yourself. So yes, no, it's a fast growing area. And I think we probably need to leverage more of the OTAs that are in the marketplace, you know, the distributors. And I think one of the edges we might have is that we can maximise our online distribution.
Excellent, Noel. Well, thank you for that. Doing reasonably well, but certainly still potential to grow, particularly in the off-season and the latter part of the year.